And as Israel may be on the brink of war with Hezbollah, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant is in Washington to try and ease disagreements between Jerusalem and Washington and ensure continued U.S. support. Joining us now to discuss the importance of Gallant's visit and continued U.S. support for Israel is JNS Jerusalem Bureau Chief Alex Traiman. Alex, thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Lidar.
Well, let's first start with this very public spat between Netanyahu and Biden. Netanyahu insisting that the U.S. is slowballing weapons shipments. The U.S. denies this. I mean, what's really happening here?
Well, I do think that there must be something going on with the speed in which weapons are being delivered, because it's not like Netanyahu to make public spats with the United States. It's been quite the opposite. He's been absorbing a lot of criticism from Washington and doing it because Israel's in a war. He'd prefer to keep things under wraps. He said he's been talking about this for months behind the scenes, and it looks like the U.S. has admitted that early stages of the war they were fast-tracking weapons, and they're no longer doing that. So Netanyahu's got to make sure that Israel has what it needs if it goes to war against Lebanon. I think that's the only concern here.
Now, Gallant is in Washington meeting with Biden administration, Pentagon officials to coordinate, but also to ensure continued U.S. support. I mean, is it concerning that he even has to make this trip as Israel is potentially on the brink of war with Hezbollah?
Well, Gallant's trip comes just barely a week after Ron Dermer, who's a member of the War Cabinet, and Tzachi Hanegbi, who's the National Security Advisor, went to Washington. And I think that these trips have everything to do with planning the next phase of the war against Lebanon. There's certain things that can't be said over electronic cables and have to be stated in person. I think that's why Gallant is there. It's not to convince the United States to support Israel. The United States has already said that if Israel goes to war with Hezbollah, which is something that they don't want to happen, that the United States will stand squarely behind the state of Israel.
So as you just mentioned, the Biden administration has made clear that it will support Israel in the event of war with Hezbollah. But just today, a general in the U.S. Air Force, General Charles Brown, said that the U.S. would not assist Israel in a war against Hezbollah as it had done in April during the Iranian attack. If that's the case, then what might U.S. support entail?
Well, what they've said here is that there won't be troops on the ground, and during the April attack, there were Air Force pilots that were up in the sky on the night to intercept long-range missiles and drones that were coming towards Israel. So I think that General Brown is suggesting here that pilots won't necessarily go up in the air, but as we've seen already with the carrier groups that have been in the region, that they have been deployed to utilize the significant missile defense systems that they have on board their ships, and that can buoy and supplement some of the missile defense systems that Israel has.
We've seen a lot of disagreements between the Biden administration and Israel over the handling of the war in Gaza. Can Israel truly count on U.S. support in the event of war with Hezbollah? And can Israel go it alone if it needs to?
I think Israel has to be prepared to go it alone. You've seen that Prime Minister Netanyahu and Ron Dermer have been saying for years that Israel defends itself by itself. We're seeing now that certainly the weapons are coming from the United States. But when it comes to the defense, Israel has to figure out how to perpetrate this war without U.S. support. At the same time, I do think that they are counting on U.S. support. They're hoping that they get U.S. support. And right now, I think that when it comes to the defense of Israel's home front, the U.S. would be there. But we will see that they may try to pressure Israel in terms of how far they go. The United States has been happy to a certain extent to see Israel fight wars, but less happy to see Israel win them conclusively.
All right, Alex Traiman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Lidar.